comment that President Trump made in 2002. You just referenced it there. Did Virginia ever talk about Donald Trump relative to her time at Mar-a-Lago?
No. No, that wasn't really a conversation that we had. She was always really good at protecting us from a lot of these things. So no, it wasn't a conversation that we had.
Okay. This is so clearly so emotional for you, Sky, of course, and for all of your family. And I wonder, how, with the Epstein case being so prevalent in these last few days, these last few weeks, how has that been for you personally?
I think I can answer that. We've constantly had to relive, since my sister's passing, these things from her past. She was pretty open with us about the things that transpired down the line with Epstein and Maxwell, and we know that she was proud of herself. It still impacted her, but she was proud of the work that she did to take them down. And, reliving it over and over again for us as the family, it does bring up those feelings of sadness for her, but it also brings up, how proud, and I can speak for everybody here, how proud we were of her and everything that she did. And I think that we need to keep the emphasis on that.
You mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell. This is something else that was referenced in your statement as well. When it comes to the possibility of a pardon for her, what is your message to President Trump on that?
I can speak for that. I think the word that comes to mind is it would be an abomination. Our sister always told us that Maxwell was even worse than Epstein. We said it in the statement that she was a monster. But this is a woman who used her womanhood to prey on young girls, vulnerable young girls. And she wasn't a light participant. She's convicted of these crimes. And the thought of offering her leniency or a complete pardon, it makes us feel sick because we're letting someone out who could potentially repeat this. We know the track record, and it doesn't seem like there's any information that could be gained that's worth letting out a monster.
Don't just take classes, take charge.
So then, Lynette and Danny, I'll address this to you. I will tell you that based on our reporting since your statement came out, a senior administration official tells our team, and I want to quote here, that no leniency is being given or discussed as it relates to Maxwell. Lynette, Danny, Sky, Amanda, and Danny and Lynette, I'll let you take this first. Does that give you any measure of comfort or relief to hear that?
Absolutely. Gives me great comfort, and it makes me think that, I think that my sister would have been mortified if she were let out of prison. I feel that it is now our responsibility to make sure that we at least put her voice into our voice and scream that forward.
And Amanda, I can direct this to you and to Sky. What do you want President Trump to know about your sister and about the possibility of leniency for Ghislaine Maxwell?
That she wasn't an object, and none of those women who so bravely came forward and fought for the truth at great risk to themselves, they're still living with this trauma. And the idea to let their monster run free, or any type of leniency, any type of break on her, is just, it's an injustice to them. And it's really important that we create a culture and we provide a culture for victims and survivors to come forward, to protect them, to try think that is the biggest highlight that needs to happen here and moving forward, is that survivors deserve the space to be heard always, and that if you were to let her free, it would be silencing them all over again. And that is not a culture that any of us want. The public, they don't want that.
Sky, if Maxwell were to receive a pardon at some point, what would that mean for you?
It would unwind everything that my sister and all the survivors fought for. It would be a disgrace of justice. It would be picking abusers over survivors again. And I truly believe that justice isn't finished here. But I certainly think this is a good start. And by not letting her out, it's the right thing to do.
Let me ask Sky.
To start learning how to believe. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Sky. No, please continue.
You're okay. I was just going to say that when are we going to start believing survivors? I think it's in our culture that we just immediately dismiss them. And I referenced this in a previous interview that we had given. But is it gonna take, I said this about my sister, is it gonna take her to die for us to believe her? And now we're sitting here now having that conversation. So yes, I think it's important that we believe survivors, we continue to believe survivors, give them the justice that they deserve.
Maxwell's attorney last week suggested that she has had a difficult 5 years behind bars, that she's been in difficult conditions, and that she would welcome any relief. Danny, do you believe that Maxwell deserves any relief?
No. And that's a quick no. I'm a firm believer that you reap what you sow. If you're going to put that kind of hate into this world, it should be met with hate. And I'm sorry that she's uncomfortable, but she did that to herself.
Danny and Lynette, one of the things in the statement here that you write is how even 20 years later, Virginia would wake up screaming about what happened to her. Your sister has talked about and has appeared with other survivors and accusers. Do you see what you're doing here today as a way of carrying on Virginia's legacy?
We hope so. That's our intention. If she were here, it's what she would be doing. And absolutely, this affected her going forward, but she found the strength every day to come forward and try to be that role model for anybody to look at and be able to feel the courage to come forward as well.
Since you're a new dad and he's a new baby, it's good to know Mylicon helps your baby to naturally relieve gas in minutes.
Danny and Sky, so many people talk about a need for answers here. You yourself in this statement talk about wanting to get answers from President Trump, from others. What are the answers that you're looking for? What burning questions do you think Virginia would have had that she wants answered now?
It's a good question. I just think the answers that I think that my sister would have wanted was, he had put these people into prison and they were convicted, and now, this many years later, they're saying that, they're going to rely on somebody that was locked up for these crimes, was tried for perjury, to answer questions about other people that may be implicated. I personally feel like, maybe that information is there, And, I think that I speak for myself and I speak for my family, and I also speak for a lot of people with just, the people that are implicated in this. We don't want them to be hidden or pushed away.
I think I can also speak to that. One of our very, very last conversations on FaceTime, she had a little bit of hope in her because it was said that the files were going to be released. And she wanted everything that happened to her very clearly. And everyone who was implicated in that, she wanted that to be released. And she was still fighting for that before she left us. So I think she wants what we all want, is transparency and justice.
So you're saying, Amanda, that Virginia wanted to see these Epstein files released, that was important to her even right up until the end?
She was fighting for that to happen right up until the very end, yes. She wanted the public to know the crimes that they had committed.
So then, Sky, when it comes to this issue of potential leniency for Maxwell, do you need to hear President Trump rule out a pardon? Would that give you a measure of comfort?
Yes. I think this is a beginning. I think what Amanda spoke about with the release of the files and giving asked for. So when we are asked, what are we asking for? And would that give us comfort? The answer unequivocally is yes, that would certainly give us comfort, but we know that that's not enough. There's more to be said and there's more to be done for these survivors. They deserve justice. We deserve to know.
Sky, will you keep fighting on behalf of your sister, on behalf of other survivors?
Every day.
I'd like to speak on that as well.
Please, Danny.
So we had the honor of having a group call with a very large group of survivors, and we got to know them. We got to tell them that that was my sister's push. She wanted to come back to the United States from Australia, and with her nonprofit SOAR, help, and not just help them after the fact, but help them going forward. One of the things that I took from that conversation that really impacted me was they all, in many ways, went through the same exact thing that my sister went through, and were carrying the same afflictions that she had, but I saw power in them and strength in them, and what I really saw was strength in them in numbers. And I really want the survivors that are left in wait to know that your voices individually, many of these girls, they had death threats to them and their families, and threats of financial ruin. I think that if you assemble and have power in numbers, your voice is louder. And it really touched me to be in the room talking to them, and I just wanted that to be said.
Before I let you go here, one of the things that strikes me is that this story around Jeffrey Epstein, it is not going away. It doesn't feel like it's going away based on what we're seeing now, from where I live here in Washington, members of Congress who have subpoenaed Ghislaine Maxwell, who want to speak to her. And I wonder, and I'll give this to Lynette or Amanda, whoever wants to, any of you who want to speak on this, what is your message to lawmakers? These lawmakers who are seeking to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, what do you want to say to them as this story continues to move forward?
That is not the change we need. We don't need to be seeking predators for answers. We need to get close and personal with the people who are living this real experience and find out what laws would have been in place that could have made a difference for them, that could have got them out earlier, that could have gave them a chance to try them in court and put them where they belong. Those are the voices you need to be speaking. Those are the questions that we need to ask. We fully intend, and we already have since her passing, to show up for different survivors all over the U.S. and make sure that we can speak to legislation. It was one of the biggest passions of our sister, and we're definitely adamant about continuing that work, because that's where it starts. We have to look at our laws. We have to look at the loopholes that have been created for predators to get away, and we have to say no, enough is enough.
Is there anything we haven't talked about that you feel is important to mention here? I'm so grateful to you for being so candid and so open.
I think we wanted to just show a photo for you. This was Virginia at 16 years old, right before she was taken or preyed upon by Maxwell and Epstein.
Sky and Danny, when you look at that photo, what do you think?
What an incredible human being my sister was. She was a free-spirited fighter for all women, survivors. And I believe if she was here with us today, she'd still be fighting. She's still here with us today. It's living through us. It lives through these survivors. Her voice is still here.
We thank